How seriously should we take our dreams, whether good or bad?
I'll tell you 3 stories. The first story is in the Rebbe's Rishimis. It's such an interesting story. The Rebbe kept a journal. Our Rebbe kept a journal of his interactions with the previous Rebbe. He was a chassid, a makushir. The very first entry into the journal is Hey Tevis Tafresh Betes, 3 weeks after his wedding, approximately 2.5 weeks. Chamisha Betevis. Nichnasti al pi hakriya, the Rebbe begins, I went in because I was called. And the previous said, told the Rebbe, I have regards from your brother. The Rebbe's brother Label was still living in Russia at the time, I have regards. So the Rebbe says, I asked the previous Rebbe, how do you have regards? Did you get a letter from him? Did you get a telegram? He says, no. We were together in a dream. And he proceeds to tell the Rebbe a dream that he had where he saw the Rebbe Rashab. In this dream, it was the first time he had seen his father since the wedding, and he describes his father as being middle-aged and very beautiful, very energetic, wearing a big day Shabbos. And amongst other things, the Rebbe Rashab told him, Ayashakeach farin Hittel, thank you for putting on a shtreimel. The previous Rebbe did not wear a shtreimel until the Rebbe's chasana. As the Rebbe Rashab didn't either once they moved away from Lubavitch. And for the Rebbe's wedding, he put on a shtreimel, never took it off. And in that same Yechidus, he said a maimir, I think on Chanin even Nova, I haven't seen the Rishim in a while. And the previous Rebbe very, very briefly summarized the maimir that he saw in the dream. And the Rebbe started asking the previous Rebbe questions. So the previous Rebbe tells them, you'll ask your brother, you'll ask your brother. Fascinating story, you'll ask your brother. Meaning to say, the previous Rebbe was so certain that the Rebbe's brother would also have had the same dream and would also have recalled what happened in the dream, that he was confident to tell the Rebbe, ask your brother, he'll tell you the dream, which is an interesting story. The point is, there is a concept in Yiddishkeit of chalemes that are mechuvanim, dreams that are coming from heaven. They're like a nevuah ketana. And when that occurs, if there are 2 people in a dream, both people will have a similar dream. So the previous Rebbe has a dream, and he tells the Rebbe, certainly a dream of a Rebbe is a lakus. Your brother had the same dream, and he'll know what happened, and he'll be able to help you. And I'm going to contrast that with a second story. What's the second story? This is brought in the Sefer Yemei Bereishis, I believe. That a couple of weeks before Yud Shvat, Tafshin Yud Aleph, when the Rebbe officially accepted the Nesias, if I'm not wrong, Rabbi Kazanovsky had a dream. And in his dream, he sees the Tish, the table of the previous Rebbe upstairs, in 770 on the 2nd floor. And the previous Rebbe sitting at the head of the table. And Kidarkam B'Kodesh, B'Chaim Chiyos B'Almodein, the Rashag, with the older brother sitting to the right, the Rebbe was sitting to the left, and all the Chassidim were around, and everybody was in a very bad mood. So in the dream, the previous Rebbe, the Friedrich Rebbe, turns to Rabbi Kazanovsky and says to him, why is everybody in such a bad mood? So Rabbi Kazanovsky says, why are we in such a bad mood? The Rebbe left us. So the Rebbe answers, the previous Rebbe answers, but I left you my son-in-law, the Rebbe. So Rabbi Kazanovsky tells the previous Rebbe all in the dream, but he keeps on saying that you're still the Rebbe, and all he does is talks about his kashrus to you. So in the dream, the previous Rebbe turns to the Rebbe, and he says to the Rebbe, Ma titzek elai, avos shreiste wegen des kashrus zu mir, daber bnei Yisrael, zog chassidus, so Yidden v'Yisrael v'os gegen Mashiach. Which basically means in English, why are you screaming that people should be connected to me? Speak chassidus, and you'll go towards Mashiach. Rabbi Kazanovsky got very excited. So he came running to 770 the next day, and he ran into the Rebbe, and he repeated the dream. So Kedarke B'Kodesh, the Rebbe asked him to repeat it the second time. And when he was finished, he says, not impressed. Why not? I didn't have the same dream. If it would have been a Chalem Emes, I would have dreamt the same thing. Mistamos wegen dem getracht batog. Yes, the Rebbe dismissed it. Perhaps you thought about it by day. Now, I don't know whether this was the Rebbe's humility and a deflection, or this is really how the Rebbe felt. But you see over here, clearly, that this is really a shita, this is an idea in Torah. If there are real dreams and not real dreams. And apparently there's probably many levels. If a dream is truly Kedusha, every person present in the dream will have had the dream and will recall it. So the Rebbe says to Rebbe Kazanowski, if this was the kind of dream, like the dream that the previous Rebbe tells the Rebbe, ask your brother, he knows the details, then the Rebbe would have had a similar dream. So the Rebbe says the proof that your dream is not in that category is because I didn't have the same dream. Now you can, of course, find other ways of resolving that discrepancy, but it reveals something. Now I'm going to tell you a third story. You can see this by the video of dollars. Fascinating moment. A Yid walks up to the Rebbe and says to the Rebbe, I wrote you a letter and you didn't answer me. And of course, by dollars, b'chlal the Rebbe, you never knew what's going on behind that face. The Rebbe's face told you nothing. It was a very, very, very concealing. The Rebbe only revealed what he wanted to, when he wanted to, and how he wanted to. And the Rebbe does not respond. I sent you a letter, you didn't answer. He ignores the Rebbe, like as if the Rebbe doesn't know that he got the letter, or whatever the case is. It looks like the Rebbe doesn't know. So he says more, I wrote the Rebbe a letter about a dream that I had. And again, the Rebbe he doesn't respond, he just makes believe he didn't hear it. So finally the person proceeds to tell the Rebbe the whole dream. About Yerushalayim and something around Yerushalayim, I forgot the details. So once this person articulated the dream, the Rebbe says, I ignored you. Because I wanted your dream to be nothing. But now that you spoke, I need to give interpretation. I need to give interpretation in a positive way, like the Gemara says in Brachas. The way you interpret the dream affects what happens with the dream. If you give a good pisaron, a good interpretation for a dream, it can turn out well. If you have a bad pisaron for a dream, it can turn out not so well. The Gemara says about Rabbi and Rebbe that one of them used to pay and the other one didn't pay for someone to interpret dreams, and they have identical dreams, and he would interpret for one positively and one negatively, and what he interpreted would happen. And then when he discovered it, the guy who was doing the interpreting paid a heavy price for playing around with the Tanoim and Amiroim. But Hakel Lefi Pisin, dreams are based on interpretation. So the Rebbe said, I wanted to make nothing of the dream, so it would be nothing. But you were insisting, and he actually articulated in the Rebbe's presence, I got your letter, of course I got your letter, and I disposed of it, nothing. So then the Rebbe went ahead and gave interpretation, which is positive. So there are a number of points here. First of all, there is such a thing as a chaloi mamiti, like a mashal mechuven, a precise chalom, which is revealing something from heaven to earth. The Rambam writes at great length that one of the vehicles for prophecy is chaloim. He divides prophecy into two categories, chaloim and mara. Prophecy is dreams and visions, when you're awake, of course. But that's a very unique kind of chaloim, and b'chlal, that's not Ruach HaKodesh, this is nevuah, and so on. And when someone has a dream on that level, every person in the dream has the same dream, if it's kedusha. And then there are many other lesser degrees, and then there are dreams such a chaloim yeshav, foolish dreams. And the best way to deal with a foolish dream, which are the dreams we have, is to disregard them. Not to say them, not to repeat them, and certainly not to worry about them. There is a concept in Torah called hatavas cholam, when a person has a very negative dream, to get together a group of people and to say that it had a bad dream and to try and fix it. There's also a concept in halacha of tainis cholam, people fasted when they have bad dreams. So there's room for hatavas cholam. I don't think there's room for fasting for bad dreams nowadays. The Rebbe B'chlal outlawed fasting, but there's room for hatavas cholam. But the best thing to do is not to repeat it and not to think anything of it, and then it's nothing. But if you have a good dream, that's a wonderful thing. I just want to finish with this. There are many Hasidim, and Stam Yidden, including Yidden who never met the Rebbe, who see the Rebbe in their dreams over the years, particularly, of course, since Gimel Tammuz. There are so many stories. And even if half of them are true, it's remarkable. Even if a tenth of them are true, it's remarkable. Because there are so many incredible stories of people who have dreams and see the Rebbe. And there are aspects of those dreams that have to be honest, true, because the person sees things that he could not have known from before. So I just want to say that there's no doubt that if a person has the schus and he sees the Rebbe Nachaleim, it's an unbelievable bracha from the Rebbe. It's an unbelievable gilui. It's a symptom of the fact that they were mezuchach, that they were pure, that they were supposed to be during the day before that dream. Now, the Rebbe says in Tanya Perikov Tes, he brings from the Zeir and Pashas Teruma, that there are dreams that a person has that are not good, when the neshama is not Eila L'mayla, V'shevas L'chaim in Gan Eden. And then a person goes to Gan Eden, in which case the dreams are positive dreams. There is no doubt that having a dream in which you see the Rebbe is a real thing, and it's a spiritual thing, and it's a holy thing, and it's a schus in two ways. It's a merit to have had such a dream, and you had such a dream because there was a certain zakos, a certain purity in you, in the day or days prior to that dream that made you a keli to have that dream, and you should cherish them. What you should do about the dream is a bezun demais. Let me just finish with a little detail. Rabbi Weinberg alav shalom had a dream, and in his dream he saw the previous Rebbe, and the previous Rebbe said to him, Yossi, du sollst tun a bissel for Maimed. You should do something for Maimed. Rabbi Weinberg was asked by the previous Rebbe to help the Rashag with the yeshiva. I don't know, 44, 45, Tafshin Hey, Tafshin Vav. And he became a Le'ezer or Lachi Samach. He helped Rabbi Rashag run the yeshiva. He was an incredible fundraiser. He traveled all over the world raising money for the yeshiva. And of course, all of his trips doubled as shlichus opportunities for the Rebbe. When he was traveling to raise money for Tem Chapimim, he also did incredible shlichus for the Rebbe. Clandestine missions and revealed missions, incredibly important things came from all of his journeys. And he has this dream, and the previous Rebbe tells him he was a fundraiser for the Lubavitcher Yeshiva, for the Rashag. Dostana Bissel and Maimed. They should do a little bit to raise money for Maimed, for the Beis Harav, for the Rebbe, and the Rebbe's causes. So when he went into Yechidus to this Rebbe, he asked the Rebbe, so what should I do? So the Rebbe said, it's a good cholim, dafim zem makayim zayin. It's a good dream, we should seek to fulfill it. Which right away tells you, a good cholim, does then makayim zayin, the connotation is, when you dreamt a good thing, so the question of how true the dream is or not is one thing, but the good is certainly good, and therefore you should do it. And then the Rebbe adds, Chazal say, there is no dream without any idle words. So you have to assume that there's one aspect of the dream which is not precise, and what aspect is that? And the previous Rebbe told him, Zostana Bissel in Maimed, you should do a little bit in Maimed. Do Zostana Sach in Maimed, you should do a lot in Maimed.